I think it's very important to keep it as simple as possible. Working with a V team for driving and defining a documentation strategy at Microsoft, I have discovered that getting to the simple format is the hardest, but it's always the best way. Don't get rushed, don't get sad if you're not matching at first the audience request. Create content that can be scalable. This is very important. You always have to think as someone who might write it an hour after you have it published, or even a year after that.
How is AI changing the way teams create, maintain, and discover documentation?
I also think that it's very important that you have the human in the loop, so that the expertise comes at the right time to ensure accuracy is on top level. You ensure consistency, you verify sources. So there always will be a combination of AI and the human expertise. I think it's great with using tools that can help you plan your work easier. You can have AI help you create a document, have a structure.
What mistakes do you think teams often make when building documentation systems?
Sometimes you fell into this trap of creating something based on what you need, or your vision. I think it's very important to adapt to the audience. Internal audience is as important as public audience. So I think it's important that you have your focus on your customer. So who needs it? Why do they need it? When do they need it? And that is a formula for any product, because I see documentation as a product. You are delivering a product in a different way.
Welcome to the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast, where Gauri Ramkumar of Document 360 finds the best SaaS self-service knowledge bases in the world and then interviews their creators. Let's get started with today's episode.
Welcome everyone to the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. With me today, I've got Ona Tania, Technical Program Manager at Microsoft. Welcome, Ona, to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Gauri. Thank you for inviting me. It feels great. And how are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you for asking. And Ona, I'm going to try do justice today because you've got ample experience in this space, 12 plus years. It's a lot to talk, but please help us understand, where did it all start? Who inspired you to choose this line? And how are you enjoying so far?
It all started indeed a long time ago from a passion of helping others. And I wanted to help my colleagues to understand better the content that was available for us. This is why I started a deep dive into the content that we had available. I was always curious, trying to find out how can we improve, what can be done better, who's actually dealing with the content management. And then because I have a passion for writing as well. I graduated from linguistics, literature, and language. I have a passion for writing. So I started the blog and it all started to fall into place. And I found this path of becoming knowledge-based manager, then content editor, technical writer. I've also been instructional designer. So all about content and trying to manage information the best way possible.
Great. That's lovely to hear. What can give more pleasure than helping others, right? So it's really great to see how your passion started to become your profession. Now, how can teams access the current state of their documentation?
We have internal documentation that we are working on. There are different teams, and usually in large organizations, there are different teams handling public facing contact and internal content. At some point, I dealt with both, but now I'm on internal documentation. So we use internal tools created by our engineers to access the content.
Great. Now, there's always a question arises, what kind of strategies do I use if I'm writing from scratch, right? So what would you like to say to those people as some of the factors to consider?
Always start with the good in your mind. If your intentions are good in anything you will do, you'll get to the right place. I think it's very important to keep it as simple as possible. Working with a V team for driving and defining a documentation strategy at Microsoft, I have discovered that getting to the simple format is the hardest, but it's always the best way. Don't get rushed. Don't get sad if you're not matching at first the audience request. You have to know your audience and always try to create content that can be scalable. This is very important. You always have to think as someone who might write it an hour after you have it published, or even a year after that.
That's very true. So writing a solution not for today, but for the future as well, right? Yes,
Yep.
great.
Yep.
Now, you must be coming across this situation very often. You write something, it's there for ages. Sometimes it's still applicable, but many times it may be a stale content. According to you and your experience, how often should documentation strategy be revisited or updated?
That's a very good question. It depends a lot on the dynamics that you have. For example, I have been working on projects where documentation required the review every 6 months. There was processes or procedures that were very stable and did not change that much, or maybe product descriptions. But I've also worked on projects where monthly review was needed, especially today in this fast paced environment of the technology where everything evolves so much. I
Yeah.
think that it's important to adapt your time when to review it as per the requirements. You can use AI to have some help and make sure that you revisit in time any piece of the documentation. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is that always place the review time earlier than you might think of, because there are dependencies that you need to take into consideration. So always try to be proactive and make sure that everything is available before it creates a situation.
True, very true. We can't be talking about this now. How is AI changing the way teams create, maintain, and discover documentation?
I think definitely it's an area where AI impacts a lot. So I think that documentation is one of those fields where you can feel the AI impact heavily, but I also think that it's very important that you have the human in the loop, so that the expertise comes at the right time to ensure accuracy is on top level. You ensure consistency, you verify sources. So there always will be a combination of AI and the human expertise. I think it's great with using tools that can help you plan your work easier. You can have AI help you create a document, have a structure, but always make sure that you pay attention to the details, because sometimes due to the nature of the AI tool, you may have consistent solutions, let's say, for documentation, which for technical writing, I think it's important. So consistency is very important for technical writing. And this is why we had templates. I loved creating templates. It helped everyone and it fast everything so much. So you have to be careful there.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Human in the loop is what everybody should adopt, irrespective of how much AI content is reliable. One question that comes to my mind is, given your experience in this industry and space, what mistakes do you think teams often make when building documentation systems?
I would say that this applies for a lot of teams, not just documentation. Sometimes you fell into this trap of creating something based on what you need, so, or your vision. I think it's very important to adapt to the audience. I'll give you an example. We worked for about a year trying to define the best strategy for internal documentation for a very fast-paced development team for software at Microsoft. And at some point, we discovered that it was not necessarily the needs of the audience that we're trying to cover. It was more to adapt to whatever we had available. And then when we tested more and when we investigated and we researched a little bit more, we found out a way of covering the needs of our audience. Even if it's internal audience, it's as important as public audience. So
Yeah.
I think it's important that you have your focus on your customer. Yeah. So who needs it? Why do they need it? When do they need it? And that is a formula for any product, because I see documentation as a product. You are delivering a product in a different way to the others.
Very true. Very true. Nicely put it, Ona. So let's move on to the rapid fire questions now. Please share some valuable resources, particularly on the documentation space, that you recommend to the viewers.
I follow and I like reading Technical Writer HQ. You can find it on LinkedIn. And there are a lot of senior technical writers or content managers, design managers. One thing I would recommend is that you always have this larger span of people that you are following, because they're all interconnected. So I follow people strictly for technical writing, but also content design, UX design. I think it's important because they all have different perspective, a different view on how to develop documentation, and that can only be helpful. Always look for people that, I think, those that not they don't have the largest number of followers. That's a good starting point as well, but try to filter with the people that resonate with your experience and with your passion and what you are trying to achieve, because that's most important, and you will find there the answers that you are looking for whatever career path or ideas that you have.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, one word that comes to your mind when you hear documentation.
Structure. I love structured things, and I always apply it even in my personal life. I think it drives people further, even though not everyone likes it. I think it helps. You always are one step ahead when you are structured with your ideas, with your documentation, or whatever planning that you have.
Thank you. A piece of advice you would give to your 20-year-old self?
Wow, that's such a nice question. I would say always trust your instinct, and I will give this advice to absolutely everyone, no matter the age. Trust your gut. It will get you where you need to be. Just be true to yourself.
Nice. Thank you. That's really good. Yeah. Anything else that you would like to add or highlight to the audiences today?
I think that we need to learn to work together. We need to understand each other. And if we would start to, put the hat on the other one when we're trying to get to a result, to an outcome, it will be much better. It's the same with education, with product development, with anything. Don't make any promises you cannot keep, and always test whether something is working, and be bold to do the testing, because you never know what outcome can get out of a situation or something that you want to do.
Yeah, very true. Very nicely said, Ona. So, as I said in the beginning, you've not disappointed us. All your answers were just spot on. And as you keep repeatedly saying, it was very true and from your heart. So, we wish you all the very best for the projects that you're handling, and have a lovely, lovely Christmas and New Year.
Thank you, Gauri. You too, and also to your team. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Ona.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Knowledge Base Ninjas podcast. Please head to iTunes, rate, and provide honest feedback on the podcast. See you next week.